Hello, everybody. Namaste. Let's talk briefly about what is non-duality. What is Advaita Vedanta? It is a perplexing term. It is a philosophical concept which is mired with obfuscation. Most of us do not have real clarity about what non-dualism is, what Advaita Vedanta is. So Advaita Vedanta, non-dual, not two. Simple definition. That which is not divisible, that which does not have a fraction, that which is not a multiple of, that which alone is. And that alone is Advaita, non-dual. That non-duality is the reality that propels, functions, and reveals itself as cosmic energy around me. But, now this is a big but, which we do not accept. But my mind has created a perceived reality. I think that what I see, what I feel, what I touch is the world. I forget that the moment I touch my body, the moment I look at the mountain, the moment I look at the ocean, the planets, it's a dualistic relationship. And then, without going into too much of details, one can continue to understand the multiplicity, the duality of my very core of my perceived perceptions. Everything that I do, everything that I perceive, everything that I define, everything that I call as my attribute, my quality, my disquality, my this, my that, or this in the world, or that in the world, or that person's this and that person's that. All those are object-based definitions pointing at a stark, naked duality of things. And the biggest culprit is my mind. My mind creates the duality, and my ego, which is nothing but my mind, continues to propel and to multiply these definitions. So, coming back to non duality is that which is beyond all this. And once I drop this dualism, once I drop this dualistic viewpoints that I have, then I come to the clarity that, aha, there is nothing if I do not employ my mind. There is nothing that can be seen as reality. Because Advaita, that alone, which is always present only as a singular entity, or rather, I could say that everything that I see is within that single entity. The cosmic reality is colossal. The cosmic reality is beyond perception, beyond comprehension, beyond logic, beyond intellect, beyond reasoning. And it is not the first time that one has thought about talking about it. One has alluded to it uh, every once in a while. in different satsangs, dialogues that we had in United States, definitely extensively, more than once, more than twice, sometimes even three times a week during the pandemic years of 2000, whichever those were, 2022. And many a times this was referred to. And but came the response from somebody in the audience or one on one sometimes that, so all that I see is unreal? I just bought a car, is that unreal? My dear friends, it is my mind that gives me the definition of things as I see them. But actually, I don't see them, I don't create them. And all that I've created is not real. What does that mean? That means that it is perishable. That means it is here today. It is here now. It'll be gone hereafter. And that's exactly the pivotal point to erase, to begin to remove this vicious world of objects that I perceive to be real. That's the biggest tenet that I must begin to see this as things created by my nature, by my mind. And therefore, I see this as reality, which it is not. So, in simple terms, non dualism or non dual existence is only singular reality, which always is pervading, it always is present. It is not something that was. It is not something that is and will not be. It is not something that got created by somebody. And therefore, non dualism is the ultimate understanding. To understand that even my birth, my body, is born because I am part of the cycle of life and death. And this is again another very crucial point to absorb, to imbibe, to have my clarity that I am part of this cycle of life and death, and life after death, and life after death, and life after death, and doing very similar things in similar circumstances, which appear to be different every few decades or every few centuries, but actually they're nothing but manifestations of the mind. So non-dualism or Advaita Vedanta is the ultimate understanding to understand what is this life about? What is my life about? What is the purpose of my life? All those are intellectual, mental definitions or mental thoughts that come up in different shapes and forms to try and get to the bottom of it. And then to think that, oh, if I meditate, I will get this, or if I eat like this, then I'll be bad. No, it's all focused to towards the body, which is a very fundamental dualistic existence that I embrace as real, which it is not. Because I'm here today, I will be gone tomorrow. Just as my uh, people, my parents or my family before me have come and gone, and so shall I. So everything that I see is perishable, everything. And therefore, I must understand that non duality is only a singular entity, if I call it an entity, a singular presence that alone is, which governs the entire cosmic energy. I don't even have the idea about the size of the size of the cosmic uh, reality, cosmic presence. And those are when I begin to talk about 706 trillion galaxies. I don't have the 60 billion habitable planets. All that is also still very dual because beyond all that, beyond the perception of thought, beyond the perception of definitions, beyond the perception of cognition, beyond the perception of intellect, beyond whatever I consider to be an attribute of mine, is a fallacy. And that's what non-dualism is. That's what Advaita Vedanta in short is. And their Upanishads and the exegesis of the Vedantic knowledge is with us to learn and absorb this. And to each one of us, with most humble submission, we are all at a different stage in this journey. And some of us get this clarity like this. And some of this will take it slowly. Some of us will completely refute it as stupidity and foolishness and say, oh, my life is so beautiful and it's a wonderful thing to be born. Mistake not. It is wonderful to be not born because then you are beyond the cycle of life and death. And then begins the process. And then begins the journey of my merging with that reality, which I call by different names. I call it heaven. I call it Nirvana. I call it Moksha. I call it happiness. I call it love. I call it trust, faith. I call it God, soul. I call it by this religion and that religion. And I say to other people, practice it like this. No, the ultimate practice is non-dual. And if we embrace this non-dual concept clearly, then we get beyond religion. Because religion is divisive. Religion is dualistic. Religion separates me from my neighbor who practices a different religion. Within the same religion, I'm separate because of my religion, because of the church I go to. Oh, I go to that church. They go to the other church. We are of the same religion. And similarly, the divisions continue to multiply. And I must get beyond that to embrace non-dualistic understanding, to have the obfuscation removed, to have an at most crystal clear clarity about non-dualism. That's my humble submission in a nutshell. And the experts and the scholars can spend hours and days and volumes of books and commentaries to explain the same thing. But remember, you don't need too many long definitions. If you absorb this with clarity, with the purity of heart, and with the crushing of the mind, crushing of the ego, annihilating the ego is the real way of getting beyond this fallacy of multiplicity of definitions that I think is real. That's all. Thank you for listening. Namaste.